how long does it take to make $30,000 a month as an online coach? All right, so I'm going to answer this question in this video. I'm going to break it down from my own personal experience. I've built 2 companies to well over this point, and also consulted with over 200 companies. I think at this point it's probably over 230 companies or so, helping them actually grow. A lot of them from ground zero, getting that 30K a month mark and beyond. So this is just from pure firsthand experience, what I've seen myself. So hopefully this video gives you just an honest, transparent context. Because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say oh, it's going to happen overnight in 1 month. No, that's definitely not the answer. So let's just break it down. Let's jump right in. So first thing, there's obviously multiple variables to this. All right, so first variable is obviously where you're starting at. If you're at ground zero, that's much different than obviously already being at 10K a month, for example. If you're coming into the business with prior skill sets, like you have sales or marketing skills, that's going to help tremendously with getting to that point. If you're starting from no skill sets, if you have no audience or you do have an audience, so there's a ton of variables at play. So it really depends, but I'm going to give you some examples. So for me, my very first online coaching business was an online fitness coaching business. This took a very, very long time for me to get to that point. So I'll give you the timeline. For 16 months, I made $0 profit. 16 months, I made $0 profit, which is absurd. Obviously, I made a ton of mistakes. I had no skills, no experience, no followers, no testimonials, nothing. I was completely clueless. I was trying to do everything myself. And so most people do see results much sooner than that. I was it's a terrible scenario. But one thing I will say that taught me is persistence and work ethic. And that's one of the most important skills for being a business owner, obviously. And so I'm very grateful for that experience as well. But from that point, 9 months later, after that 16-month mark, I made my first over 10K a month take home. I believe it's actually 15K a month. I don't know the exact numbers, but something like that, 10 to 15K a month I took home 9 months later. So that's about 25 months. So about 2 years it took me to get to that basically 6-figure earner mark, which is not too bad when you really think about it. 2 years of hard work to make 6 figures a year, very worth it in my eyes, in my opinion. All right, so that's one raw experience there of getting to that initial 6-figure earning mark on a year. Now 30K a month, I believe that happened, I want to say within an additional 6 months or so. We were able to scale up, pretty quickly. Once we actually got to the initial base of making, 6 figures a year. The jump when you're at 10K a month, for example, to 30K a month is, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's much, much easier, significantly easier than going from 0 to 10. It's really, it's relatively easy once you're at the point. If you do know what you're doing, you have the skill sets, or at least some guidance, someone who knows what they're doing. All right, 0 to 1 is the hardest step ever. It is. All right, because a lot of it's going to be mental as well, where I remember starting out and you don't even know if it's a real thing almost. You're you see people doing it online. You probably don't know anyone who's really doing it in your real life, any friends you might, but you might not. And so for me, it's kind of a belief thing as well. Is this online business thing real? Can I actually make this thing happen? And then we did sign a handful of clients, but again, we weren't profitable for 16 months. Month 17, I took home my first paycheck, which was $68 or something, something tiny. But after that, I remember signing our first what I thought was a high ticket client at $997. Signed that first deal. Then my eyes were open at that point. Once I closed that basically $1,000 deal, I was like, holy crap, I just signed 10 of these people. That's $10,000. It really opened my eyes. And so it's a belief thing often when you're getting started. So surround yourself with people doing it, follow people who are actually making it happen, and really just will yourself into hey, this is possible. You truly believe it. One of the things I just observed in the universe, observed in my journey, is the degree to which you believe is directly aligned with how much action you take. All right, the degree to which you believe is directly aligned with how much action you take. So, for example, if you're trying to lose weight and you've tried and you've failed before, and you really just believe it's because of your genetics, all right, on a degree of belief, you're probably at 10% belief, where it's maybe I don't know, some miracle, maybe I get really lucky and I have a breakthrough, but this probably isn't going to happen. If that's your belief system, how much effort, how much work are you going to put in towards dieting, towards working out? Probably not much, because your brain is not stupid. Like it's not going to contradict itself. Or so if the belief isn't there, like it's illogical to even work hard towards a goal. Like that's crucial. That's why people who think like, oh, this thing is just a scam, or online business, that's not real. It's not real. Like you can't do that. It's not meant for people like us. If you believe that, you have no chance of ever winning because you're not even going to try. So of course you're not going to win. So like 'cause it's just like how the brain works. You can't contradict yourself. Someone who doesn't believe it's possible isn't going to try. And so if you believe more, if you believe at 90%, 100%, you're going to take a lot of action because you're like, oh, this is like basically a sure thing. It just comes down to consistent effort and work. If I put in 2, 3 years, 4 years of my time, I'm going to be there. Like it's illogical not to. All right. The more you can get your belief up, the more action you're going to take. So huge thing I've observed. Anyways, let's get into some more examples. How fast at 30K months. We had one private client I worked with. This guy, he did have some prior sales experience, which was great, but he was starting from ground zero. And he went from 0 to 28K a month in a little bit over 6 months' time. All right, so 6 months to go from basically 30K a month, starting from ground zero, which was quite incredible. And that is one of our best case studies, to be transparent, getting from 0 to 30K a month mark, basically. And that's a big feat. And doing that in 6-7 months' time is very quick. That's not normal. Most people, I would say, if they're starting from ground zero, but you are serious, you're investing in someone, you're investing in mentors, and you're all in on this, like you could probably make it happen, within 1 to 2 years if you do have some of those check boxes right there, those criteria. If you don't, if you're like lollygagging like me and trying to figure it all out yourself and just you have no clue what you're doing, it's going to take longer, like probably 3 to 4 years, I would say, which again still is not a bad trade at all. like think of the trade. Like let's say to get to 30K a month, which is obviously a top 1% income earner in the United States. Of course, in the world, you're 0.0001% top income earner, making 360 grand a year. Quite a good feat there. Nothing crazy, but in the realm of online business, not crazy, but in the average person's view, it's quite incredible. And so if it takes you 4 years to get there, that's one of the best trades you can make. Because compare that to other avenues to get to that earning potential, maybe being a doctor or a lawyer, some of these highest paying career fields. You had to go to school and do residency and all this other stuff for probably 8, 10, 12 years at times to even get to that point where you're earning that amount of money. So if you think of it, like the trade is quite incredible. Just 4 years of hard work, learning from others, investing in yourself, like it's quite a simple feat. But so many people are just deluded with time frames and expectations. Like you'll see, because I know it's all these marketers who are ruining it and kind of just like crushing the careers of a lot of new entrepreneurs, new business owners, new coaches, because like they think it's all possible in 3 months and 4 months, and they're going to magically make 7 figures, like, which is not practical. Like you have to realign your expectations. All right, because the long game always wins, and the person whose expectations are, hey, this is going to take 5 years. What is that person going to do? They're going to commit for 5 years of time and effort. And so just by doing so, they're going to be in the game. And so they're going to see results, obviously, prior to year 5. They're going to see results year 1, year 2, year 3. It's going to build. And so they're going to stay in the game. The person who believes, though, it's only going to take 2 months, they're going to stay in the game for 2 months, maybe a month and a half, because they don't see any progress in a month and a half, and they quit. All right, so expectations are crucial. Man, but I mean, like the biggest lesson I would pass down to someone who's starting from ground zero is just those expectations, because that's crucial. Like, you need to stay in the game. Staying in the game is the only way to win. Because if you quit, you're obviously out of the game. You can't even win. There's no chance. So, like, set your expectations at, hey, 5 years, 10 years. Like, let's fully commit for this long time horizon, because you're going to stay in the game at that point. And just by doing so, if you're just doing the intangibles, if you just work hard, you're persistent, you keep showing up, you keep trying to learn and get better, you're going to win. Like, I've never, ever seen someone who truly does that. They had those intangibles of just work ethic and belief and consistency. I've never seen them fail in the long run. Or they can definitely fail over 3 months or 6 months. It's very possible, because that's very short term. It's so short term, anything can happen. But over the course of multiple years or a decade, that person's going to win. I've never seen it happen before. If someone does that for a decade long or 5 years long even, they fail. I've never seen it. It just isn't possible. I don't think it's possible. It's not how the universe works in my eyes. So that's a video. If you want to go from 0 to 30K a month, it's probably going to take you 1, 2, 3 years, possibly longer if you're slower. But even that trade is a very good trade at that point. If you're starting from 10K a month and going to 30K a month, that can happen relatively quick. The only reason you're not doing that is skill gap. And so invest in getting those skill gaps solved ASAP. It's really going to be a marketing or sales skill at that point. We have a lot of client cases who are at around 5 to 15K a month mark. We're usually able to accelerate them quite quick because once you're at that point, again, 0 to 1 is the hardest part. But 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 is relatively easy comparatively to that 0 to 1. So that's the video. Hope this gives you some context and is helpful on your journey. My name is Jack Bly. If you're interested in potentially working together, I'm looking at how we can help you scale your online coaching business to that 30K a month mark and beyond, then go ahead and click the link below and check that out. But I'll talk to you soon.